My name is Bunny Hilliard. Hey, y'all. Yay. All right, I'm the founder at Brave and Kind Bookshop, and it is It is my absolute joy to welcome you to a very special author event. What a way to kick off the summer, right? Right. Today we're celebrating the incredible Kennedy Ryan. And her newest novel, Can't Get Enough. Tonight we're also joined by two phenomenal storytellers, Tia Williams and Jasmine Guillory. Yes, whose voices and books have brought joy, depth, representation, and just love to so many readers. And leading tonight's conversation is none other than beloved book influencer and literary curator Simone Umba. So her passion for Black stories has made her a guiding light and joy in this community of readers. We're so proud today to partner with our friends at Gwinnett County Public Libraries. And thank you to Brookwood High School here in Snellville for making this gathering possible. And finally to you, our readers, our people, thank you for always showing up, showing out for the stories that move us, that reflect us and remind us of our power. So now please join me in giving a warm welcome to Simone Umba.
Oh, thank y'all. Y'all look so sweet. Oh my goodness. How many of y'all came out of town? Because I know I met a couple of y'all. Oh wow, y'all made the trip. Wow, my goodness. I know the tickets were a lot because it felt like getting Beyonce tickets. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Like, I was not gonna be here if Kennedy didn't call and ask me, hey, do you wanna come? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, I just wanna do a quick little icebreaker. I promise I won't do the embarrassing ones from high school. How many of y'all started reading Kennedy with the Skyland series? Oh, a lot of new readers, that's so great. How many of you guys are here from the Hoop series, like the original okay, OGs, thank you. How many of y'all were here with the very first series? Okay, the veterans, thank you very much. So we are gonna talk about the amazing, probably my favorite book from Kennedy, Can't Get Enough. Also, we're gonna be talking with two other, my favorite authors, Jasmine Guillory and Tia Williams. Y'all, I was backstage, I felt like I was with Destiny's Child. I'm not even joking. I tried not to stand out really, really bad, but let's just go straight into it. Please give a round of applause to my personal Beyonce, Mariah Carey, and Whitney Houston, Kennedy Ryan, Jasmine Guillory, and Tia Williams.
It's on, yes.
Oh.
Little seat arrangement, reorganizing. It's fine.
The whole night is gonna be like this. We were backstage. She said Destiny's Child. We were like, that's us. Oh my gosh.
We're deciding who we're gonna be, and then
we're back there like, who is Michelle? And then they were like, did they just call us? And we're just like,
It was Michelle. I was like, I'll be her because I fall all the time.
As y'all can see, you would think that they've been friends for 50 years. 50 years, but these are amazing women who have written so many stories. I want to start off with, what was the book that made you really want to pursue romance, as a writer?
Good question. You go first.
Yeah, go first. Oh, thank you. I don't quite. I remember the book that made me want to write, which was, I'm blanking on the title now, but it was a young adult book, and it was set in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live. But it was about a white girl, and I was reading it, and I was thinking, like, I wish I had a story like this when I was a kid, but about a black girl living in my area. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Maybe, could I do that? And that was what made me start writing. I did, I used to be a lawyer. I technically still am a lawyer. And so I had always been a huge reader, but it had never really occurred to me that I could write. And that book was the first thing that made me think, like, wait a minute, like, I could tell that story. Could I tell that story? So that was what really spurred me to start writing. And then it wasn't for a number of years after that I started writing romance. But I got really into reading romance when I was going through a really difficult period in my life. I had job changes. I was having a really bad health situation. And I was reading a ton of romance then. And romance is so great to read when you're going through something hard. Because going in.
That was just a collective. They felt like when you're in church and you kind of nod your head because yep.
Right? That book is gonna build you up by the end. Sometimes you go through it in the middle, as we know from some people. But by the end, you'll be okay, and that's exactly what I needed during that time. And so it was really when I was reading a ton of books, and that was really when I was like, maybe I could write one of these too. And so that's what it really did for me.
Miss Kennedy, what was the book that got you into romance?
I don't know if it was any one book. There are some authors who I think kind of imprinted on me. And when I say imprinted, I started reading romance really early, in the 8th grade. And I say that's early, then last week somebody was like, I started in the 5th grade. I was like, where was your mama? In the 5th grade. Just kidding. Kind of. So I started reading romance in the 8th grade, and it wasn't really very diverse, because I'm much older than everybody in the room. So this was even before Beverly Jenkins even published. So you're talking about, it's pretty lily white around, not that there wasn't any, but you start picking up in I'm from rural North Carolina. I am, North Kakalaki. And I'm country. And so I had this tiny little library, and it didn't really have a lot. So I was reading Harlequin Presents and the silhouette romances and the big old thick, Fabio kind of stuff. And none of that made me want to be a romance writer. I mean, I loved it, but there were writers who made me want to be a writer. And I would think that was people I loved Terry McMillan. I loved how she was a household name. When we were growing up, everybody knew Terry McMillan was. Her stuff was on television and on movies. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this author, but B.B. Moore Campbell, And the thing I loved about B.B. Moore Campbell was, first of all, she has this book, The 72-Hour Hold. It's so good, and it was supposedly taboo, because it was mental health and all of that. And then there's a romance author named Laura Kinsell who writes really messy books. And when I look at how I write, I'm there's so much of those things, the attention to mental health and quote unquote taboo topics, and writing really messy books. You're how is this gonna work out? How is it gonna happen? I think those are authors who, and then somebody like Terry McMillan, something that's, maybe tackles stuff, but it's also commercial, and very accessible for a lot of people. A lot of people feel seen in it and feel I can see myself in it. And I think those 3 authors really kind of, and others, but those are the ones that come to mind, kind of imprinted on me and made me want to be a writer. And I didn't think about writing romance until much later. I didn't think about writing fiction. My degree is in journalism, and I'd always thought I would write memoir or self-help or report from a war-torn country. I didn't think I was going to be writing romance. So that just kind of came from me being a writer as a vocation, and then my love for romance. Those 2 things kind of marrying each other.
I'm the person that was reading romance. Only it was before 5th grade. I was a mess. I read V.C. Andrews when I was 8. Okay? So my mom was obsessed with paperback romances, the Fabio, all of that. And she had a stack of them by the tub in my parents' bathroom, and they were always really swollen because they absorbed the steam from her baths, and when you would open them, they would fall open to the sex scenes. So this was like mommy's special time.
Yeah.
Right? And so my sisters and I would, at extremely inappropriate ages, like go in and like read the sex scenes and like, just be so obsessed with this magical idea of like love and sex and emotion and this like adult world of, LUST and drama. Like it was so interesting to read. And then when I got into high school, I'm a super socially awkward person. And I was awkward in high school. I didn't have my first kiss till I was 18. I know, I didn't go to the prom. I didn't go to the prom, and just in this moment, I'm realizing I'm dressed like a 1989 prom queen. And maybe that's why we bring high school with us wherever we go.
Yeah.
But
I didn't go to prom either, too.
Right. Oh, you didn't? Okay. And so I was really horny. And so I had all of this early experience reading these romance novels. So I would write like Tia fan fiction. And like, in AP geometry, I'm like writing in my notebook a whole like torrid love affair, based on kind of the stuff that I was reading in my mom's bathroom. So I always knew I wanted to be a romance novelist. And what was like annoying was, is that they were mostly all white. And yes, this is 80s. So this is before Miss Bev. This is before Terry McMillan and B.B. Moore Campbell and Omar Tyree and, Yes. What do you know about Omar Tyree? So this is before that era. And I mean, it's this kind of thing. It was like they were always talking about like pink nipples. Yes. And I'm like, where?
But that's not.
Where's that? Where do they do that?
That's a foreign concept here.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. So I would cast black people in my head as I'm reading these books. And mind you, if it's 1987 or 1988, we're talking like Theo Huxtable is now the male protagonist of this like bodice ripper. It was a mess, and I even knew back then when I was little that I'm going to grow up and write books starring us, so no one has to think of the black version of anything, because we are not versions of whiteness. We are ourselves. But there was one book that really, really did it for me. It's called it's called Knight in Shining Armor by Jude Devereaux. And it's it's this woman who is on this terrible vacation with like her fiance and his daughter that sucks and she hates them. And she like runs off after she gets in a fight with them, and they're in England or something, and she finds herself, I don't know, in the forest or something, and there's like a statue of this knight, and she falls to his feet, and she's like crying, and she's like, oh, I hate my fiance, like my life is stupid, like what am I gonna do? And he comes to life, and he's like, you rang? And I was like, oh my God, this white woman is blessed with this, like guy that found her like from centuries before, like comes through time to like find her. Like I want a black character to have this like fabulous fairy tale. And you know what? I am realizing that that's like...
You just described your whole book.
In this very moment, I realized that that's where I got that from, and I'm dressed like a prom queen. Thank you for that.
Well, we found out some amazing facts about y'all tonight. So now let's talk about some books that might be people's first romance novel. Kennedy, Can't Get Enough is your third book in the Skyline series, automatic New York Times bestseller, number 2 and number 5, just to let people know. Now, you made it a priority to always start conversation with your books. And many people, including me, feel that this book is a direct mirror to so much happening, but specifically the Black woman. How was the process writing it compared to your past titles?
You know, I think I approach each title really specifically because I'm approaching each character as like an individual, so they have like their own things. We've known, if you've read like Before I Let Go, This Could Be Us, Hendrix obviously was in those books, but we only saw like pieces of her. You know, and so many people are like, I just didn't expect Hendrix to be this, or I didn't know that Hendrix would be this, and it's always like that. Like once you're only seeing like one side of someone, and then once you're in their POV, you're seeing like the 360 and also the interior of her. And for me, you're right, I do love, my books kind of start with conversation. I mean, you know, they start with intention, like what I want to talk about. Even in the author's note that I wrote, I said something like, when you read my books, we're having a conversation. You know, there's discourse that I start thinking, how is this book going to move this discourse forward? And so obviously Hendrix is childless by choice, which she's been from the beginning, but then of course, over the last 6 months, we've been talking about cat ladies and, you know, childless by choice, and it's such a big thing. And it's been really rewarding for me, all the women who have been in my DMs and messages like, I see myself in Hendrix. I'm childless by choice. I'm the rich auntie. I'm this, you know. But, you know, one of the aspects that I haven't really gotten to talk about very much at all is, you know, Hendrix is in the venture capital space. And she, with her sorors, and everybody's like, which sorority? And I'm like, I very deliberately did not say. And then they'll reply with like red hearts, I know, or pink and green, I got you.
AKAs and deltas in the house tonight?
Yeah, they're like,
well, look at that. Look at that. So Hendrix is now a delta. There we go.
They're like, wink, wink, okay, you know. Sure, Kennedy. And so she starts this venture capital, she's in the venture capital space focused on Black women founders. And as I was writing that, I already knew kind of what was going to happen. And you guys, a lot of you are in Atlanta, so you probably are familiar with the Fearless Fund and everything that's been happened with the Fearless Fund, but it's also now happening in Kansas City, and it's happening in other places where the very laws that were designed to protect us as Black people are now being weaponized against us in higher education, in venture capital space, all over, where, you know, now they're trying to say if you are focused on Black women in a venture capital space, that's discrimination against everybody else. So those kinds of issues had already kind of bubbled to the surface, and I knew I wanted to explore those. And it just kind of made it for a fascinating kind of conversation that I wanted to have with everybody. And, you know, it's worked out pretty well. You know, people have been really seeing themselves in Hendrix and in her journey, and it really means a lot to me.
That is truly the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, because y'all, I like DM Kennedy like almost weekly, whether it's like a fan cast or me talking about a book. I told her that Kendrick literally mirrored my own life, and mind you, I'm in like my late 20s, so to see someone in their 40s as a younger person, regardless of age, you get to see that mirror, and you see that with not only Kenny, but with all the women on the stage when it comes to their writing. So I know people in the audience are grateful, and I know you probably get this a lot, but thank you so much for representing us every day.
Well, and the only thing I would add is that it was really important for me with Hendrix as the last. I wanted to see a plus size, 40-year-old Black woman rocking her natural hair, you know, being chaste, you know.
Yep.
arguably the most eligible hero in the entire series is like pursuing her relentlessly, you know? And I wanted women who are in that space, and that touches so many marginalizations, you know, when you're Black, when you're 40 years old, when you're you know, overweight, fat, plus size, whatever you call it, like, and to see yourself at the center and being loved and desired and loved outrageously, that's what I wanted for her, and that's what I wanted for us.
And that's why we call her the Beyonce of romance. This is why. This is why. So I want to move over to Tia. This is your spinoff from 7 Days in June. This is Audrey's book. This was highly requested that she gets her own story. And I wanted to ask you, how was this writing? Because you said that your daughter, Lena, was your muse, and that this was the first book.
Actually, Lena said that. On Good Morning America. It was so funny. I was trying to prep her. We went on good. This is the May YA Good Morning America book club pick. And they knew that Lena inspired Audrey, so they had us go on. And I'm like, you know, she's 16. I was like, it's okay. There's going to be cameras. There's lights. Michael Strahan's going to be interviewing us. She has no idea who he was. And I was like, just breathe. It'll be fine. We sit down. She's like, which camera do I look into? This one? Okay. She's like, yeah, well, for this book, I was my mom's muse. And also for 7 Days in June. Anyway, yes. I'm sorry. Continue.
Just gave full Rumi Carter that entire interview.
Totally.
She did great.
Yeah,
she did great. I wanted to ask, how was it writing? Because you said that you consulted her when it came to writing the book. Was there a moment as, you know, both a writer, but also as, you know, a millennial? I was like, wow, these kids are going through a lot.
I'm Gen X.
Oh, you don't look Gen X. Your blood does not crack. Look at them.
Yeah, class of 93, what's up? High school, mind you. Yeah. Yeah, things were different back then, you know? What I found is interesting, though, is that teenage feelings don't change. Like, a teenager is a teenager is a teenager. It's just, you know, the outfit and the technology changes. And also, you know, what's happening in the culture, right? So the thing about, I wrote YA in 2006 and 2007, a book called It Chicks, and then the sequel, It Chicks 16 Candles. And the difference between teenagers during that era and teenagers now, mostly beyond the technology, is, and the fact that everyone's on their phones, is that there's all this beautiful language that has sprung up around consent and, you know, slut shaming and bullying, and everyone is so much more aware of those topics, and, you know, mental health and everything, which is great. But you get into a place where they're speaking in talking points and haven't really experienced anything, you know? And it's like, fine, TikTok told you needed consent to do that. But if there's something to be said for actually going out and having these experiences and coming to these conclusions, because anybody can, you know, talk discourse talk, you know, but if you haven't lived anything, what are you really going to do when you're standing in a doorway with a 6'3" guy that smells like summertime and, you know, and suddenly all your morals and ideas and all that shit flies out the window, you know what I mean? And so it was funny because, like, my daughter and her friends were basically my focus group for this book. And, like, you know, Lena, my daughter, would have summer parties, and I would sit the girls down, and I'd be like, okay, what's the tea? Like, what's going on? You know, what do you got? No, that's too explicit. What do you got? Okay. You know, and because it was really important to me that the voices and the experiences sound, you know, authentic, because what you really can't do as a Gen X person born in the 70s trying to write someone born in 2008, you don't want to sound like you're an old person. Mm-hmm. And my daughter was like, do whatever you want, but do not embarrass me out here. Like, don't be cringe. So it was important to me to get that right. So I would talk to the girls and, you know, kind of see. And my first question I asked them was, what are you scandalized by? Because I feel like that says so much about where where teens are. Like, does anything surprise you guys anymore? Like, what would be the thing? You know, one of her friends was like, butt stuff. I was like, cool. Okay.
Yeah, the kids are
Meeting
just
adjourned.
a lot. Because there was some language in the book. I'm just like, wait, are they saying that now?
Yeah.
I don't remember saying it back in the day. It's crazy.
Okay, on to Tia's point about like you need to get out and experience life. I had a conversation with one of my nephews last summer about, you know, the whole like man versus bear thing was going around, right? And he was like arguing with me and my niece about like, you know, why we were wrong to pick the bear and like all this stuff, and we argue. He started college this fall. I saw him at Thanksgiving. He said, "I'm so sorry, it's the bear. It's the bear every time." And this made me have a lot of like faith in him as a future man. You were right. And it was like, okay, thank you. But also, you saw some stuff your first year of college. And he was like, yes, I had all these friends who were girls and the things that boys did. And I was like, so yeah, like, get right. You get out and experience life and you're like, oh, this is what the world is. It's terrible. Yeah.
Well, going from Tia to Jasmine, your book, Flirting Lessons, is you diving into a queer relationship between two women. And a lot of people are familiar with your books because it's always swoony, it's always a story. What was different between these two? Because you have two polar opposites with Avery and Taylor. Yeah,
you know, I think it was really fun for me to kind of not, like, I think one of the things that I've had trouble with, because almost all of my books have been dual point of view, and it's always a little like when I'm jumping into the man's point of view, I have to like kind of think harder and like figure out how men like look at the world and think. And being in like two women's point of view, I'm like, well, I'm always writing from the female gaze anyway, so this is very easy for me. But also Avery and Taylor are both very different people, but they both have like, you know, they both have anxieties that they show in different ways, right? Like Avery is kind of outwardly anxious, and Taylor just hides all of her anxiety. And so it was really, I really had to think about like, how do they each approach the world? They each look very good at certain things and are each inwardly like terrified about other things. And it was really like kind of thinking about them and how they would have a relationship together, and like how they would deal with the world around them, that I had a lot of fun with.
That is beautiful. I know from people who've read the book that they incredibly appreciated seeing Avery have her growth in the story, as well as growth in her relationship with Taylor from where they started to where they end up at the end. I'm not going to spoil it because I know people like wanted to read the book, but it's really good, guys. Make sure you buy it outside. So I want to redirect it to a group question. If your characters were to be basically in a bar together, who do you think would like gel the best?
The characters in these books particular, or any of them?
Any of them, like in like the series. They're taking their time.
I think, okay, I'm gonna go first so I can this will be easy. I think that I could see Hendrix in any of these books because she's like a party girl, and but she's also one of those people who's like, whatever you need, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna be supportive of you. Like, so I could see a character like her in either of those books, but then I could see her in almost anything. So that's what I would say. I'm gonna take the easy way out because I'm not sure what to say.
I think that Avery and Audrey would get along very well.
Oh, they would.
Because they're both uptight in the same way. Or they would cancel each other out. Yeah, but they would just like organize everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think yes to that, and I think Bash could hang with anybody because he does kind of hang with anybody. He's kind of like a party guy, and he's one of those people that what he's gonna have is a good time. Yeah, so I feel like he'd get along with anyone.
Well, the descriptions you guys gave are amazing. I know with all three of you, you are not only colleagues, you're also friends. So I wanted to ask this question. Would you ever consider collaborating on a book together? Whether it's a full novel or a novella, as you can see, there's an audience that would want it. Do y'all want that book? There we go, that's our focus group.
I mean, we'll get our agents to talk.
Yeah, I would love that.
Even if it was an anthology.
Yeah,
You know?
like some interconnected stories.
Yes.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
That could be fun.
that'd be good.
That'd be fun.
We'll call Hachette later.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah,
We'll workshop it. It's fine. So I have a question I always ask every author I talk to, and you've probably gotten this a lot. If you were to fan cast these books, who would you see it? Because I know authors have mood boards and their Pinterest boards. Who would you see portraying it on screen? Kennedy, I'm gonna ask you first because I know Skyland's in the works.
This is just dreamy, you know, because we all have kind of like adaptations in development, and when you're actually like going to cast things, it's kind of like, do I want to say this?
Yes.
So this is, what I'll tell you is I'll tell you the people who were like on my Pinterest board, you know, when I was writing, and people who I see a lot of other people fan cast. I see, and I really, really like, for Jasmine, I see Tiana Paris a lot. Who I really, really like. I have like Tiana Paris, Tika Sumpter. Oh gosh, her name is Deborah. She's British. She was in Them.
Yeah.
Her, I like all three of those. Soledad is so hard. I see a lot of Adrian. Her. Yes. And for Hendrix, there's three who come up a lot. My favorite is, you guys know Annie from Sinners?
Yes. That's who I saw the whole time.
That's always like from the first time I started writing. I loved her in Lovecraft Country. And so she's always been my Hendrix. A lot of people say Amber Riley. And then I don't know her name, but the kind of like really like outgoing one from Harlem. People say, yes.
That's the name right there.
So, and for guys, like I always see, what is his name? Yaya. Yes. Him. Aldous Hodge, obviously. Those are just some. Yeah, those are some.
Do you have anyone for Maverick in mind?
Oh gosh, you know what? I actually kind of at some point had Aldous Hodge in mind as Maverick, but there's another guy, and I can't think of his name. He was in Forever, and I'm not talking about Wood. Actually, I think I might see him more as Josiah and Aldous Hodge more as Maverick. But he was the girl in Forever, her dad. He was. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I could see him as someone. Yeah.
We're gonna have to make some phone calls, possible DM. We can make this happen. Oh, Jasmine, Tia.
Okay, I am terrible at this question, partly because I never remember anyone's names.
You saw I was like, you know the lady.
I know.
We can put a
I'm
name
always
to a
like that
face.
person from, like, I think Taylor would be great. Like, who is the woman with the short hair and she sings and is black? See?
DeBose. Adriana DeBose?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
Adriana DeBose.
Yeah.
Yes, I could see Taylor. Yeah.
That's
Like
who
Anita
I-
Baker?
That's who I was picturing her the whole time I was reading.
See, yeah. So she would be a good Taylor.
Yeah.
Avery though is harder. Yeah, I don't have a good picture on who Avery would be, but I need to think about that.
Yeah.
I feel like although it seems like she would be easy because she's sort of like, you know, your light-skinned black women. There's a lot of them in Hollywood, but that's who they like to cast for things. But I think she'd probably be easier to cast, but I don't have a good picture of who she would be. If anyone has ideas, give them to me and then I'll pretend
Journey
I had it.
Smollett.
Oh, yeah.
I can see
I
that.
can see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I love Journey too.
Okay, Bash, I need for you all to look up Jude Bellingham. He is a British.
Yep.
When I tell you.
Yep.
When I tell you. And his brother. Have you seen his brother? Okay, he's British. He plays soccer for Real Madrid. That's Bash, okay? And then Audrey, I see Marseille Martin.
Oh, yeah. She was so good.
Good, right?
She's so good.
Again, like I said, we can make some calls. We can get the ball rolling here. So, but all three of you have written amazing leading, female Black characters who have their own backstories that so many, see a mirror to. What has been kind of the experience as an author, as more people are discovering not just you, but so many Black authors, many of them who inspired you through your writing career?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Oh, okay. So I know that many, like the three of you have been inspiring to so many people because of your writing. And with the last 5 years, especially with social media, people have discovered you. They've discovered past authors like Beverly Jenkins, like many of like the younger book, like a lot of different books. What has that been the past 5 years compared to when you had started writing, when they were still like original, like media and advertising?
You mean like book talk?
Like
and
book talk,
social media, and what
Instagram.
is it? How has it changed the experience in the industry?
Yeah.
Okay. I think for one thing, I think that it is raising visibility. Is this what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that it's definitely raising visibility for our books. And I speak really specifically for indie romance and Black indie romance. I think especially about book talk. I live on TikTok. And I think it's changing a little bit because I was frustrated, especially in the beginning, because it felt like there was so much algorithmic bias that our books and our space was not getting the elevation that mainstream books were. Like I saw this huge boost as indie romance authors, mostly white indie romance authors, like being picked up by traditional publishers and like having this literally feels like overnight, like one video goes viral and it's like all of a sudden, wow, they're have this huge career. And although I saw some lift, it wasn't in the same way. And I think now we're seeing increased visibility. And I think that, and I tell people all the time, I feel like the most vital storytelling in romance is in Black indie romance. And the reason I say that is not that there are not Black traditional authors who are doing amazing things. There's not very many of us. Like when you look around, like there's in some ways there's fewer Black traditionally published authors than I have seen in a long time. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think that the beautiful thing about what's happening and has been happening in Black indie romance specifically is when you are all three of us, and really any Black author you see navigating traditional publishing, we are swimming upstream. We are going against the grain. We are navigating a white gate-kept space. And so is this what, okay, I'm not sure, I'm like, am I answering this question?
You're answering the question great.
But the default is whiteness. And so and the publishing industry is rooted in white supremacy, everything is rooted in white supremacy in this country. So they don't have to say, we're gonna make this white. It defaults to white. And so often in traditional publishing, when you come in, it's like they want you don't often, a lot of people don't, I do. You don't get say in your covers, you don't get a lot of say in your marketing. And it's like sometimes your work, sometimes it feels like they're shoving Blackness into a white space. And that's not how Blackness thrives. And so when you are an indie author, and I've had this experience because I'm a hybrid author, when you're an indie author, one thing that you get to do is curate this space where you don't have to say, okay, how am I going to squeeze this book into this? Okay, what do Black women want on their covers? How am I going to reach these readers specifically? What do they want to see on the page? Editorial control. Like, if you are in that space, you are curating and cultivating a space that celebrates and centers Blackness. And so that's why I think like some of the most vital storytelling is happening there. And I think that has created this huge groundswell, especially on Book Talk. And I love to see not that they're not finding our books and traditionally published books, of course they are, but I am loving seeing kind of this renaissance of readership where we are finding, even if they're not on shelves, because we are fighting for shelf space in places like Target and...
It's a safe space, y'all. We're gonna talk about it. We're family.
But I mean, when you talk about retailers, even Barnes and Noble, like places like that, we are fighting for shelf space. It is hard. You're not seeing us the same way. And if they're not going to put us on the shelves, how do we discover ourselves? How do we find stories that reflect who we are? And viral spaces like Book Talk make that more possible. Authors who we've never heard of, now rising to the top, like Jaquel J, right? Who made history, becoming, I think, the first urban fiction novel to be #1 in the Kindle store. That doesn't happen without a viral space like TikTok. Do you know what I mean? So when you ask, how is it transforming what's happening? That's how it's transforming what's happening. Our stories are now like rising to the top, and it's not in a gate-kept space. We've taken down all of those structures that the publishing industry has put between us and readers and said, okay, I don't have to go through, I don't have to wait for you to allow me in. And that's why they only allow so many of us in at a time. And so, as an indie author, that is how indie publishing even happened, is because they weren't letting us in. We had to make our own spaces. We had to create spaces for ourselves because they weren't giving us deals. And so now, and I want to honor, for me, people like Christina C. Jones, people like Alexandria House. These are people who really transformed and laid the foundation for modern Black indie romance. And so to see their books and to see people like J.L. Seegers and people Natasha Bishop and people like that, now traditional publishing is starting to recognize the value of that, because the bottom line is money. And so when you talk about how is it transformative, that's how it's transformative, because if they see the value of it, if they see it at #1, if they see sales, they're going to be like, okay, we should create space for these stories and these people. And so that's what I've seen.
That was, anytime you hear Kenny speak, she's gonna give a really good sermon, y'all. She'll give you
literal
a good
sermon. Yes.
You had to hydrate after that one.
Yeah, I know.
So we're almost out of time, and I only have time for one more question. And I don't know if y'all gonna be mad at me because I know you're talking my stage. What is your next upcoming book? Because I know people are gonna ask, oh, when's the next book?
I have not yet announced my next book because I should have written it a while ago. So I need to turn it into my editor before I tell the world about it. But I'm working on it. So hopefully you'll know more about it within a few months. I meant to turn it in. What? I meant to do that.
What had happened was, I am working on, if you've read or heard about a book, Real, of mine. This is encouraging because I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to be here for this book. It's called Score. And it's the follow-up to Real, and some people are like, ooh, more Neva and Cannon. No. You will see glimpses of Neva and Cannon, but it's Monk and Verity. And if you know anything about this world, the Hollywood Renaissance world, they're making a Harlem Renaissance era biopic. And so it's like the cast and crew, and the first book, Real, was about the director and the lead actress. And this is about the music supervisor and the screenwriter. And so that's what I'm working on now. We'll do a cover reveal at some point this year.
Mark your calendars, people.
and then it'll come out in 2026.
I too have a book due.
Tell them the concept.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the concept. It's due in November. I have not started writing it. I can't wait to read it. I will say that. Okay, all right, it's good. So I do have an outline. Okay, so it's this woman. This is not going to be an elegant thing, like I haven't really talked about. I talked about it a couple times, with you. Okay, this woman, she just started working for this global corporation, right? She just started working, so she doesn't know anyone. Good. So she doesn't know anyone yet. So her first kind of assignment is to go to this international summit for the corporation. I don't know, so we're sexy, Italy, I don't know. And so she's on a plane going there, and a lot of the people on the plane also work for the corporation, but because she's new, she doesn't know who anyone is. So she gets on the plane, she sits next to this man, they get wasted, she's like, I love you. She realizes upon landing that they got so tipsy they didn't exchange information. So she, drunk emails HR. And she says, I was on this plane. I'm pretty sure I met my husband. He looks like this. I don't know his name. Does he work for our corporation? And what she realizes is that she didn't just email HR. She emailed global. So now everyone all over the world is looking for this man for her. And it's called Misconnection.
Y'all make sure when the pre-order link drops for all three of these, you're getting them. You are getting them. Well, thank you so much for all three of you for sitting down and speaking today. I know everyone is excited to get pictures. Yeah. And y'all got your books, right? Y'all got all of them. Y'all make sure you read them? Yes, there you go. Give us a round of applause for these amazing women.
And thank you, Simone, for corralling us.
Thank you so much. Your questions were great, too.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, Tia, didn't you want us to?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have a group project for all of us. I want to do a fierce photo. And what I mean by that is that I want you to serve in the picture. So give like your, most amazing like fashion pose, okay? We're gonna do a selfie. Is my arm long enough to get all of us? All right.
And then I want to do just a normal one.
All right, it's a new phone.
Hang on, we gotta move to the left.
Okay.
We're gonna do a video, y'all.
You want me to count? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna count it, and on one, serve.
Okay.
On serve. Are you guys gonna sit down? You have to stand.
Stand up, y'all. Y'all came on this way. Come on.
You got it. Don't forget, on one, serve.
We're starting from this side, and then we're going over here.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Serve!
Y'all are amazing. Y'all did great.
Okay, now I'm gonna do just one where on 3 you just go, woohoo! And you'll be on my TikTok. Okay, oh, there we go, okay. 3, I'm getting everybody. Okay, good. 3, 2, 1, woo! Thank you.